Life is precious, and we all have the opportunity of living it to the fullest. Unfortunately, so few of us know how to manage it all. How do we account for our opportunities? How do we account for our time? How do we account for our relationships, health, spirituality, homes, finances, influence, and careers? How do we account for the one life we have to live? I am so glad you asked. In this program, you will find answers to all of these questions and more. Welcome to the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore.
Welcome back to another episode of the Account for Your Life podcast. And today, here's what we're talking about: how to embrace what faith really is. And so we're going to look at just it's not even complex, but it's so simple, but yet we miss it. But we're going to look at how we can embrace this thing called faith. And there's going to be a test. There's going to be a test to help us to see what we actually have to, what we have to know in order to really embrace what faith is. So why am I talking about faith? This week, I think we've kind of gone about a few things. We talked about giftedness. We talked about change. We've talked about just a variety of topics, and these topics are all leading us down the road of faith. Every road, like if you want to discover your giftedness, you're going to have to really embrace this thing called faith. If we want to change, to change into the person that we've been created to be in the season that we're in, we're going to have to, at some point, really look at what faith is and embrace it. Because faith in the scripture, what does it say? Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So, but what does that really mean? And how do we embrace that? So let's take a look. I want you to look outside. If you have a window, today, I want you to look outside of your house. Or I want you to think about what's outside your house. I want you to think about the wind, right? I want you to think about the wind. Can you see the wind, but yet you feel the wind? No, you can't see the wind. Where is the wind coming from? I don't know, but there's wind. That's one thing, right? I'm looking at a ring light in front of me. There's lights in my office. There's computers. There's things around me. Where did they come from and how did they come about? Well, they came about because somebody created them. Now, do I have faith? Am I having faith in the person that created the ring light? I'm not really having faith, but I have faith every time I go to turn my ring light on and off. That's when but I just got to press the button and it comes on. So it's not that I have faith. I just know it's going to turn on. And if it doesn't turn on, I'll say, oh, it's not plugged in. And if it is plugged in, it's not turned on. Maybe it needs a new light. So we don't have to have any faith when it comes to some of the things that we already know and believe. But how do we embrace faith to almost like install it into our life as a foundation? Now, on the right of me on the floor, I'm going to go grab something so I can show it to you. Just in case you haven't gotten one of these, this is my book. It's called Next Level Faith. Next Level Faith. And how did this book come about? Do you have a copy of this book? You should get it. nextlevelfaithglobal.com. nextlevelfaithglobal.com. I'll send you a copy of that. So here's the thing about faith. How did it even come about? Here's how it came about. And the interesting thing about this book is that when I opened up, now this book isn't about my faith story. This is not a story about Jay's faith, but it's a story. There's 4 separate stories of people who had faith, right? And so, there's phases of next level. Somebody went through I think it's 4 or 5 phases. Then there's faith on the tightrope. Somebody really had to have some faith. Then there's faith in action. Somebody had to make moves. There's faith in a crisis. Crisis happened. They didn't know what to do, but they did something. Then there's the time when you had to change your mind. Then there's the time when you realize that faith is something that can bring you to life. And then at the end, it all comes down to one thing. Faith comes down to one thing. You want to know what it is? Seek God first. That's the last chapter of the book. Now, There's a verse that I'm going to use in Hebrews that pretty much says the same thing, but it doesn't say it that way. But it really makes me feel like it's saying the same thing. It's Hebrews chapter 11 and verse number 6. But without faith, it is impossible to please him. Who is him? God. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Diligently seek him. So let's think about what this is saying. Man, I believe in God, right? And I believe that God has created the worlds. I believe that God can move mountains. I believe that God created me. And then when we apply it to our life, we start lacking. We start wondering, man, is that really going to work? I was listening to a training yesterday with a very successful business owner, entrepreneur, and it was interesting training because it was actually a training that he gave to some college students. So he was asked to speak, for a class on entrepreneurship, I think at the University of Texas or something like that. And they would ask him all kind of questions. And then it was interesting because it was almost like I says, wow, this is like a free master class that if you did the things that he said, you could win. And one of the things that he said that really resonated. And here's what he said. And I'm gonna bring it to faith in a second. Here's what he said. He says that when you realize that in business, it's really easy, it's really simple, it's really simple to get into the marketplace and to do something. Here's what he said, and here's why he said it. He says, because there's a lot of people in business that's really not doing anything. And I said, wow, yeah, that's what he said. He said, so all you have to do is be faster or better. Be faster or better, or both. He says, so if you could do something faster, if you can do something better, or both, you will win at a high level. He said, doesn't matter what it is. He said, you can be a janitorial service. You could cut lawns. Like it doesn't matter what it is. And so I thought about this. And then he also said, he says, look, but then there's some rules. Let me get to the faith in a second. Then there's some rules. And this is where it hit me. He says, he gives what he calls the rule of 100. Rule of 100. The rule of 100 says that you got to do something 100 times, 100 things. Let's say you reached out to 100 people every day for 100 days. Let's say you created content, 100 minutes of content every day for 100 days. I said, well, that's a lot. But he said, if you did that, you're gonna kill it. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. But here's the thing. Let's embrace faith now. Do you or I believe that we can do it? And the moment you have a doubt is the moment you won't do it. And I had to take a moment to say to myself, all right, if I was going to do one of those things, what could I do? What could I do? I said, man, I could probably do 100 minutes of content a day. Basically making videos, making videos every day, or spend 100 minutes every day making content, whichever way you want to do it, but 100 minutes, I can do that. So today is my first day, and I'm going to track myself every day. But here's the thing. I have to believe something. I have to have faith. My faith is not in God. My faith is in the fact that God has given me a spirit to move in a direction that I know that I can do, whether I know that I can do it or not. Did you catch that? Whether I know I can do it or not, all I have to do is spend 100. All I have to do is spend 100 minutes. And my goal is to spend 100 minutes every day creating content. If it's creating a video, if it's then taking the videos and creating content from the videos, just every day, 100 minutes, I'll spend 100 minutes. That's basically 2 hours a day, just a little under 2 hours, but you might as well just do 2 hours. If you wanted to win and you want to embrace faith, you got to step in. I've got to step in to something that's going to stretch you. And what he said was that at the end, what happens is you are not the same person. Does this mean you made a whole bunch of money? You could, depending on what you were doing, but you stretch yourself further. So how do we embrace faith? Or how to embrace faith? Or How to embrace what faith really is to know that, but without faith, because we're believers, without faith, it's impossible to please God. Do you or I want to please God today? I know I do. But here's the thing. There's things that God expects of you as a believer. If you say, man, I believe in God. I believe that God has done this, that, and the third. I believe that God can do this. I believe God can move a mountain. Well, you think God cares about what you said? Or do you think God cares about what you do? So James talks about in James 1, he says, you can't be a double-minded person. Double-minded just means it's not that you're thinking about two things. It's that it's almost like you have two minds. One mind is saying something, the other mind is what's doing it, and they're not coming together. You're not actually doing what you're saying. Man, that hit me hard, because there's times in my life when I haven't done what I've been saying. I've just been saying and saying and saying. It's like, well, okay, how do you move forward then? So how do I embrace what faith really is so that I can move forward past this place of, man, I don't want to be here anymore. We talked about, the methodology of what account really is. When we're talking about account for your life, is, it's really looking at, okay, if I had to go and add it all up, what do I have? What do I have? And so that's what an account is. An account is a thing that shows us what we have. Your bank account shows you. My bank account shows me what I have. And if there's not as much as I would like in there, I didn't provide the actions. If there's something else, if it's my health, right? And I'm saying, wow, like I'm on blood pressure medicine, or, I'm on insulin, or I have diabetes, or, I've got high cholesterol, I've got some ailment, I've got to take medication. What that's saying is that in the record, you have not done what it takes. I have not done what it takes. Thank God I'm not on any medications, right? The only I take some vitamins. I take me some vitamins on a regular basis. But here's the thing. If I'm going to embrace what faith really is and move forward so that I can win, then it's to embrace the fact that the record will always show the truth. It will always show the truth. And so if, I'm at the gym this morning and doing my exercises, I'm just thanking God that, man, I could go to the gym. If I got hurt and I couldn't go to the gym, say like years ago when I tore my Achilles, oh no, I'm like, man, I was out for almost a year. What would happen? Just thank God, right? Because tomorrow you don't know what's going to happen. So we got to embrace what faith really is, so we can become the people, so we can account for our life, so that we can really, become the person that seems impossible to you, seems impossible to me. What if we decided today, it's May the 5th of 2023. Shout out to my client, Sabrina Harper. Today is her birthday. Happy birthday, Sabrina, if she catches this. What if today we said, you know what? No looking back. No shying away. No allowing my head to get the best of me. No more second guessing. No more believing I'm smaller than what I am. Remember when the spies, when Moses sent, put together the group of the spies to go into Jericho, their eyes fooled them. Their eyes, what was it, 12 of them? 10 of them came back and says, there were giants in there. And we're like, ants in there. Basically, we were small in their eyes. What? And then Joshua and Caleb comes back, dude, we can take them. Well, because they knew who they were with. They weren't second guessing who their faith was in. If they was reading this, they would have known that it was impossible to please God. They would have also known that God rewards those who seek him diligently because of that belief, because of that faith. So how to embrace what faith really is so that you can move forward is to just know that, you know what, if it seems impossible, then that's where I put my faith in the fact that it's impossible for me, but it's possible for him. And because he can do all things, that means he can allow me to do that thing if that's the thing that he ultimately desires. So what does that mean? I should know my purpose. When I know my purpose, then everything within the purpose for which God created me is a possibility for you and for me. So guys, I appreciate you for joining me for this episode of the Account for Life podcast. I'm Jay Moore, the Healthy Accountant, helping you to account for your life. God bless. I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
Thanks for joining us, listening friends. We are so glad you invested this time with us. Always remember, you only have one life to live, so live it to the fullest. This has been the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore. Until next time, make it a great day.